a woman in gaming, as a foreigner, and as an immigrant. So I grew up in a town of only 74 people, and you had to learn to be very creative. You have to have a great imagination. And not only that, but you learn to become very self-sufficient. If things are broken, you have to know how to fix it. You have a natural inherent environment to learn how to be a creative problem solver. There was no one to call. You had to be able to draw on that. Over the years, I did finally move to Las Vegas, where I entered gaming and then was moved on to Reno in several different departments across compliance. I did several IT areas, primarily around SAP. And then I got into product management with a transfer to Amsterdam in our international offices. Suddenly, I was in not only just a foreign country, and as a woman of only one of two that were actually in management. So I had this all-male staff that I had inherited, and it was pointed out to me with every reorg that I sent out. And within the first month, I thought, well, let's just call the elephant out in the room. And I ordered a hot pink business chair, and I sat in the office, and as soon as people walked in, they realized, oh, yeah, she's different, but let's get on with things, right? Being a foreigner also taught me that there's a huge difference between being friendly and having friends. And for the very first time in my life, I wasn't able to rely on being an extrovert. But instead, I had to learn what introverts do so well, which is draw energy in periods of isolation and silence and alone time. You know, often when we talk about diversity and inclusion, it's referenced as inviting somebody to a party is diversity. Asking them to dance is inclusion. What happened though for me in this experience, not speaking the native tongue and being surrounded by 22 other foreign languages, is suddenly my inner critic was silenced. I love that Fiona spoke about this earlier today. In that space and turning off all the inner critics by not being able to hear anyone else's criticism, I suddenly thrived. My work thrived. I was embraced by my own team and the executives who saw the talent that I had and the great work that we were doing together. It was phenomenal. And then London came calling, along with a whole new management change, which also had its own issues of me suddenly feeling like I had to fit in. I was wearing pantsuits again. My hair was up in a tight bun. But what I forgot was that I was uniquely me, and I brought my own set of talents. And as soon as I reminded myself that I went around the world for years, and what made me successful and our team successful was that I was able to relate to people even in a foreign environment. One time somebody asked me what my best asset was, and I told them, and they said, no, that's not it at all. Your best asset is the ability, however you do it, to fall into a foreign country and somehow creatively find a solution to a problem that either your business or your group is facing. That is a talent and an asset that any corporation, as we get more and more globalized, can draw upon. So that flexibility and adaptability, you know, maybe it served me a little too well. I do tend to get a lot of different jobs in a lot of different reorgs. In fact, over the last 9 years, I've had 12 different vice presidents of divisions or a different job that's been handed to me in the reorg. But, you know, as soon as it's in a customer-facing role, as soon as it's a little bit technical and I get to really embrace it and allow myself to be myself, the pantsuits come off, the power braids show up in my hair. I'm wearing motorcycle boots and dresses to work, and I'm back in my own authentic self, being me, and my work thrives. So we did have another acquisition a few years ago, which was quite interesting. When G-Tech bought IGT, not only was I a woman in the room in management sitting in an international environment, but the moment I opened my mouth, you hear American. I was immediately classified as somebody in a group that I had left a long time ago, at least physically. I sat in a different continent than all my peers that I was being lumped into, assuming we had the same challenges, which we did not. Suits came back on, I was promoted to senior director, I was doing everything I could to fit in, and then more reorgs happened, and I genuinely was unhappy in what I was being asked to do. So I decided to take that time and really focus on what I love about my career and the people that I work with. And that's mentoring women, men, inside the industry, outside of the industry, marketing or other, and focusing on developing true leaders within my teams. Even if they don't report to me, how can we go about our day in an impactful way? Taking that focus, I suddenly loved everything about the gaming industry and my job again. And then we hit what I call affectionately the COVID pivot. This year has been a phenomenal year for me. Personally, I have had so many things happen to me that have made me thrive, and I'm humbled that that's not the case for everybody. I never thought in my wildest dreams that coming from a town of 74 people and being raised by a father who spent most of his career on a submarine in isolation would ever prepare me for a world in corporate worldwide business. But by embracing my unique history, by telling my story, by being able to develop on my existing talents and my ability to build worldwide relationships in a very authentic way, helped me prepare my teams and colleagues and friends for the challenges that we were facing uniquely in a suddenly isolated and crunch time period of time. This needs must environment of creative thinking and using common sense and finding the best way possible with limited resources finally came in handy. So where am I at looking forward? You know, I love all of the diversity and inclusion groups that we have at IGT. I'm involved with several of them, whether it's about the aging population within our groups or super abilities, or of course, women inclusion networks. I think that there's something for everybody to get involved and have your authentic voice being heard. On a personal side, I complete my immigration story tomorrow. I'm actually going to become a United Kingdom citizen. And I have my ceremony in the afternoon. We'll celebrate with my friends and family who have supported me on this journey throughout the last several years. And as a leader, as a woman in gaming, as an executive, I'm committed to making sure that I build a community that not only invites people to participate and allows them to be there, but one that actually embraces every person's unique talents and that embracing of authenticity.